Smokers in a queue for public transport may be fined for $3,000 as early as New Year's Day next year. The government unveils plans for the Hung Hom waterfront with related projects set to yield 1,300 private housing units. And China is reportedly mulling to exempt some U.S. imports from its 125% tariffs. Good evening. You're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Zhu. The government has taken anti-smoking to the next level, proposing new regulations to expand smoke-free zones in bus and taxi stops and impose stricter penalties for smoking violations. Evelyn Bai has more details.
The Tobacco Control Legislation Amendment Bill, which includes 10 anti-smoking measures, has been gazetted today and will be implemented in phases starting next year. Authorities will step up cracking down on illicit cigarettes, raising the fines of related offenses from $1 million and 2 years imprisonment to $2 million and 7 years behind bars. The amendment bill also sees the expansion of non-smoking areas. Starting January 1st, tobacco users cannot smoke anymore when queuing or staying in designated boarding areas for public transport, including bus stops and taxi stands, regardless of whether others are present. Smoking while queuing for cinemas, hospitals, Department of Health clinics, sports venues, and community halls will also be banned when 2 or more people are in the line. Meanwhile, no smoking will be allowed within 3 meters of doorways to schools, hospitals, and childcare centers. Rule breakers who light up cigarettes in no-smoking areas will face a fixed penalty of $3,000, a double from the previous fines. Separately, from April 30, 2026, alternative smoking products will be banned in public areas, such as electronic cigarettes, heated tobacco products, and herbal cigarettes. According to the Census and Statistics Department, there were around 580,000 smokers in the city last year, with nearly 70% of first-time smokers taking flavored cigarettes. In a recent newspaper interview, Secretary for Health Lo Chong-mao criticized tobacco companies for adding flavors to cigarettes, likening to a sugar-coated poison that makes it harder for smokers to quit. The bill will be introduced to the Legislative Council for first and second reading next Wednesday. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Development Bureau unveiled preliminary development proposals for the waterfront and the former pier sites in the vicinity of Hung Hom. The area near Hung Hom and East Tsim Sha Tsui stations will span 24 hectares, where the government planned to establish a new landmark at the waterfront. The landmark will feature a mixed-use tower with both commercial and residential purposes, a large-scale shopping center, hotels, and additional residential projects. These projects are set to provide around 1,300 private housing units. To further promote yacht tourism, yacht docking facilities will be constructed west of the former pier sites in Hung Hom, with initial estimates indicating a capacity for up to around 200 yachts. The Development Bureau will also plan to add multiple pedestrian links within the area, attracting high-spending tourists through various retail and entertainment facilities. Wrapping up his visit to Zhejiang today, Chief Executive Zhang Li revealed plans to support mainland enterprises in breaking through U.S. trade barriers. Li attended a promotion conference in Ningbo which showcased the SAR's business advantages to Zhejiang's commercial sector. Deals were signed with 12 Zhejiang-based companies spanning sectors like resources, technology, and cosmetics. Addressing the conference, the Hong Kong leader warned that U.S.-imposed tariffs pose a risk of disruption and recession to the global economy, emphasizing China's economic strength and vast market as key assurances for investors, with the SAR serving as an open platform poised to help firms secure new supply chains and expand into emerging markets. Deputy Director of the Hong Kong and Macau office, Zhou Ji, emphasized Hong Kong's global recognition for its effective measures facing the trade tensions, praising the chief executive's efforts in economic growth, risk management, and improving livelihoods, pledging to support more Hong Kong and mainland cooperations. He also highlighted that both sides together serve as a model for regional cooperation. Ningbo Party Secretary Peng Jiaxue stressed the close ties between the two cities and underscored the SAR's pivotal role in China's reform and opening up, advocating for advanced Ningbo-Hong Kong collaboration through cultural, educational, and youth exchanges. He pledged to integrate Ningbo's manufacturing with Hong Kong's services, fostering deeper ties in technology, shipping, and trade. The government's proposal to raise the penalty for illegal parking to $400 has ignited a wave of criticism among several lawmakers, who argue that the increase would further burden the transport industry. Evelyn Bai shares more.
Under the government's plan, offenders of serious traffic violations such as speeding, running red lines, and illegal parking will face a hike in fines.
Speaking
at the Legislative Council's Transport Panel meeting, lawmaker Lo Wai Kwok pointed out the lack of adequate commercial parking spaces in the city, questioning why red minibuses were prosecuted for illegal parking in non-busy areas after service hours. The current issue is that only 2 parking spaces are available for every 3 commercial vehicles, leading to widespread illegal parking among commercial vehicles due to the shortage, Lo added. In response, Undersecretary for Transport and Logistics Liu Cheng-san said the government has made significant efforts in recent years to increase parking spaces through various short, medium, and long-term measures. However, finding new locations for commercial vehicle parking spaces in urban areas face real challenges. Another lawmaker, Ben Chen, said the penalties send a clear message to the transport industry that fare increases are inevitable and must be accepted. Chen suggested exploring creative solutions, like designating parking areas in relatively secluded areas for commercial vehicles during off-peak hours. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Public healthcare fee reforms have been gazetted today, with new charges set to kick in on January 1st next year. The updated fee schedules for public hospital services include an increase in emergency room charges from $180 to $400. At the same time, the hospital authority will permanently maintain its special refund scheme. Patients who choose alternative care after triage assessment can claim a $350 refund. The reforms also expand the medical fee waiver system, extending coverage from 300,000 to 1.4 million eligible low-income residents. Also, a new annual fee cap will benefit approximately 70,000 patients with chronic or critical conditions. Starting Monday, the hospital authority will launch an online self-assessment tool on its website and HAGO mobile app. Residents can input household income and asset details to check their eligibility for medical fee reductions. The late real estate tycoon Li Shaoqi, founder of Henderson Land Group, who passed away last month, will have his funeral held this Sunday. The funeral will take place at the Hong Kong Funeral Home, followed by a public tribute session on Monday morning. A Buddhist funeral rite will then be conducted before Li is laid to rest in his ancestral hometown of Shunde at a later date. The funeral committee will be co-chaired by Chief Executive Zhang Li and Director of the Central Government's Liaison Office in Hong Kong, Zheng Yansheng. Former Chief Executives Tong Chi-Hwa and Leung Chun-ying will serve as honorary chairman. To accommodate large crowds, an overflow mourning area with an altar will be set up in a marquee at the football ground opposite the funeral home. This will be activated if the main hall reaches full capacity. Public visitation hours are scheduled for Sunday from 1:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Monday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. China's top policymakers called for comprehensive planning for worst-case scenarios and concrete steps to bolster the economy. The Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China Central Committee held a meeting today, chaired by Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee. Politburo reiterated plans to accelerate debt issuance, ease monetary policy, and vow to support employers to safeguard jobs as China hunkers down for a trade war with the United States. The country will also cut interest rates and banks' reserve requirement ratio in a timely manner, and develop consumption in the service sector, according to state media. No announcement of additional deficit spending beyond what was approved in March came out of the readout. In the latest development of the trade war between China and United States, China is reportedly considering suspending its 125% tariff on some U.S. imports. Moreover, import agencies in Shenzhen revealed that the authorities appear to have quietly rolled back retaliatory tariffs on some U.S.-made semiconductors. Anna Chen has the story.
Citing people familiar with the matter, Bloomberg reported that Beijing is considering removing the additional levies for U.S.-imported medical equipment and some industrial chemicals like ethane. Officials are also discussing waiving the tariff for plane leases. However, the list of exemptions is still in flux and discussions may not progress. Meanwhile, 3 import agencies in Shenzhen told CNN that exemptions are being applied to microchips, waiving the 125% retaliatory tariffs. The local customs authority in the Southern Technology Hub appeared to have notified some companies about the change, but not announced officially. Reuters also reported that a list of 131 categories of products said to be under consideration for tariff exemptions was circulating on Chinese social media platforms and among businesses and trade groups today. On the U.S. front, President Donald Trump insisted his government had meetings with Chinese officials regarding trade on Thursday morning, after Beijing has denied it has engaged in direct talks with Washington.
Well, they had a meeting this morning, so I can't tell you. It doesn't matter who they is. We may reveal it later, but they had meetings this morning, and we've been meeting with China.
China's foreign ministry again reiterated that the two sides were not having any consultations or negotiations on tariffs. The spokesperson also said he was not familiar with the specifics of whether China was planning tariff exemptions on some U.S. imports. Anna Chen, Cable News.
The Vatican will make final preparations for Pope Francis's funeral tomorrow as the last of the huge crowds of mourners file through St. Peter's Basilica to view his open coffin. Due to higher than expected turnout, the Vatican decided to keep the St. Peter's Basilica doors past midnight. Tons of mourners have queued for hours to pay their last respects to the late pontiff, day and night. After 3 days of lying in state, Francis's coffin will be closed at 8 p.m. local time tonight in a ceremony attended by senior cardinals. The 88-year-old Argentinian will then be laid to rest on Saturday in Rome. The papal funeral will be held outside St. Peter's Square beginning at 10 a.m. local time. His coffin will then be driven at a walking pace to his favorite church, St. Mary Major Basilica, for burial. Francis will be the first pope in over a century to be buried outside the Vatican. People will be able to visit the tomb from Sunday morning. China's Shenzhou 20 spaceship successfully docked with the space station early today, starting a new round of in-orbit crew handover. About 6.5 hours after blasting off, Shenzhou 20 spaceship docked with the space station's core Tianhe module in the early hours of Friday. The Shenzhou 19 crew opened the hatch and greeted the new arrivals. The mission commander Chen Dong and astronauts Chen Zhongrui and Wang Jie were warmly welcomed in the Tiangong space station. The 6 astronauts will live and work together for about 5 days to complete planned tasks and handover work. The incoming crew will stay in space for about 6 months, while the Shenzhou 19 crew is scheduled to head back to Earth next Tuesday. Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day up 70 points. Top active stocks of the day. Tencent was up $7.20. Alibaba was up $1.80. BYD was up $6.60 and Pop Mart was up $7.80. Onto the weather now. Overcast with a few showers. Showers will be heavier with isolated thunderstorms at first. Slightly cooler tomorrow with temperatures ranging between 22 and 25 degrees. Light winds, easterlies will strengthen overnight. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thank you for watching and good night.